With a huge talent and big ambitions, that's how Cristiano Ronaldo started his career, similar to many other players. But talent alone is never enough. It must be accompanied by several other key factors. Hard work, strong will, self-confidence, and a strong personality. This is the story of Cristiano's beginnings and how he got to the pinnacle of football. Applause Ronaldo in the islands of Madeira and in particular the capital Funchal. Cristiano took his first steps towards a footballing career. He focused very early on football instead of studying at school, and because of his family's relatively poor background, his mother agreed on his decision to focus on his dreams, which reflects to some extent their economic situation. At that time, Cristiano played for his local amateur club Anjurinya from 1992 to 1995, as his father was working as a kit man at the club. News about a young Cristiano got to the youth coach of Nacional, who was incidentally Fernando Sos, Ronaldo's godfather. Fernando played a big role in Cristiano's early career decisions, especially with the absence of his father Dennis in many occasions, as he drank away his sorrows, and despite the attempts of the biggest club in Madeira, Matimio, in bringing Ronaldo Nacional, appealed more for Cristiano, as they eventually completed the deal. 2 sets of kits and 20 footballs was the sealer to get Cristiano, who was only 10 years old at Nacional. Cristiano had his first taste of a real football academy, and the coaches at Nacional were worried because of Cristiano's undernourishment that may slow down his development, and asked his mother to supply his diet with plenty of fish and meat. But in all cases the talent was there, and whereas a typical kid at his age would train for 2 hours a day, Cristiano used to train with the ball between 10 to 12 hours daily, because he had no school homework and no house chores to worry about. And within a couple of years, Cristiano became too big for the island. His next step was a matter of time. Cristiano's godfather played a big role again, as he mentioned Ronaldo's name to João de Freitas, who was the president of the Sporting fan club in Madeira. De Freitas had good connections with Sporting Lisbon personnel. Mainly Aurelio Pereira was the lead scout. He was responsible for bringing talents like Futur Figo, Quaresma Nani and Moti. Not Sporting at that time, the process of scouting was very simple and based on intuition. That's why Pereira gave Cristiano the chance to trial for a week at Sporting's academy. Nacional had the debt to settle the Sporting Lisbon, related to an old transfer which amounted to 25,000 euros, and they were struggling to pay it, so they thought of offering Cristiano in an attempt to cover this debt. Obviously, the price was pretty high to bring in a 12-year-old academy player, but Pereira managed to convince the board, as Cristiano flew out of Madeira for the first time in his life and landed in Lisbon alone. What caught the Sporting coach's eyes, and in particular Aurelio, was Cristiano's personality. There was no doubt about the talent, but the coaches thought his personality attributes were eye-opening. After the trial, Aurelio agreed on Cristiano's permanent stay in the summer of '97, as he officially became part of Sporting's academy. Cristiano faced huge difficulties in Sporting's academy. The accent in the capital was very different than in Madeira, and there was no age group that fits Cristiano's age, so he had to join an age group older than him by 2 whole years. And he basically lived far away from his family for a long period. It was easy for Cristiano to give in and go back to Madeira, and he was close to doing just that, especially in the beginning of his period, but he stayed in the capital Lisbon to achieve his dreams. And despite his huge focus in training and his competitive spirit, Cristiano faced many issues off the field, and especially in his academic studies, which were mandatory for each academy player. And Cristiano faced another issue, as it was discovered that he had a racing heart and had to go under the knife and do surgery in the year 2000. He took some time off and came back to training 3 months later at Sporting. The coaches tried to make Cristiano understand that the ball was not his. He had to transform from an individual to a team player, and as time had passed, Cristiano developed a lot, as Sporting rewarded him with his first professional contract in April of 2001. And with the help of the most famous Portuguese agent at that time, José Viga, the contract was for 4 years, and with a monthly salary of 2,000 euros. Ronaldo, at 16 years of age, had a release clause that amounted to a hefty 20 million euros in the beginning of the 2001-2002 season. Cristiano was financially capable of getting his mother to move to Lisbon, and as his family was closer, Cristiano managed to get ever so close to first-team football at Sporting, as he was called up to train with the first team by the Romanian manager Laszlo Belloni. After several training sessions, Belloni wrote up a report on Ronaldo. The negatives: weak aerial ability, uses weak technique, defensively weak, physically weak, doesn't have tactical awareness as an individual, nor as a team player, very selfish, and lacks composure and focus. But after months and months of training, Cristiano managed to settle in with the first team in the training sessions, but Belloni still thought it was not the right time for him to play in official matches, as Cristiano was still showing off some tricks that had no place in actual matches, let alone in training sessions, and Belloni even threatened not to call up Ronaldo if he didn't stop. Sporting successfully won the league, the cup, and the Super Cup that season. As the manager, Belloni successfully managed to integrate youngsters like Quaresma and Viana within the starting lineup, but Ronaldo was still waiting for his chance. As the season had closed its curtains, a Portuguese agent called Jorge Mendes entered into the fray. Mendes planned to pick up 3 Sporting Academy players, whom were Quaresma, Diana and Ronaldo, all of whom were represented by Jose Viga. Mendes sat with these players and promised them that he'll find big clubs that are interested in their talents, and that will help them earn no less than €1 million in a flash. And after Mendes successfully got Cristiano on board, he sat down with him and his mother to convince her of his ambitions. So in September of 2002, Cristiano terminated his contract with Viga, and thus Mendes was now his agent in following season. Sporting's main striker Mario Jardel had intentions of leaving in the following season, so Belloni had to find another attacker, either down the middle or on the wings. Director of football Carlos Freitas informed the manager that there was no budget to acquire a new player, and thus proposed to him to use Cristiano. Belloni agreed with that suggestion, as the Romanian manager believed that the teenager improved immensely in the last couple of years in the academy. Cristiano played either as a central striker or a second striker, but Belloni decided to use him as a tricky winger, and before the season had started, Belloni hyped up the press. This young man will be better than Josefio and Figo. The teenager managed to score his first goal as a professional in a friendly against Real Baddies. As the graphics wrote the young man's name on the screen, Custodio Ronaldo. Then he made his professional debut against Inter Milan and the Champions League qualifiers, which Sporting ended up losing. He scored his first official goal in the league against More Rareness in October, and entered in the dying minutes against Boa Vista and managed to score the winning goal. Music, a very promising start, but Cristiano Ronaldo didn't start matches consistently, which was normal for a teenager only 17 years of age, but actually it was enough to attract the attention of several European clubs, and Sporting had won a single title that season, so the manager Belloni was fired at the end of the season. Mendes warned Sporting that if Cristiano was not a starter next year, there was a big chance he would leave for another club, and Jorge Mendes was very active that year, as he lined up several offers for Cristiano, and the Portuguese teenager said after the Toulon tournament that he was pleased to receive the attention of many important clubs, and he dreams of playing in Spain or England. Now let's look at who were the real candidates to sign Cristiano in the summer of 2003. First war, Valencia. Paco Rogue, one of the presidential candidates prior to the elections, had agreed with Mendes to sign both Cristiano and Quaresma if he won the presidency, €9 million. Both of them, Liverpool and their manager Gerald Ollier, were interested in the player, as they offered €8 million, as Cristiano reacted to the offer and said one of the best clubs in Europe. It would be a dream to play for a club that represents so much tradition. Luis Suarez, interlegend and Marathi's consultant at that time, was interested in Ronaldo as he saw him in action in the previous season, and said to Maratti, "We have to sign him, he'll be one of the best players in the world." Maratti was not convinced, especially when he knew that Cristiano was only a 16-year-old kid, as Inter were one of the biggest spenders in the mercato in that period. But did it make an official offer? Juventus stepped up their efforts to sign the young Portuguese, but their Chilean striker Marcelo Solas refused to go to Sporting in a trade deal. Italian darlings Parma offered €8 million for the player. the head of Real Madrid's academy Ramon Martinez met with Sporting to inquire about Ronaldo. Barcelona was interested in Jorge Menz's clients Humor Quers, Mathigo Deco, and Ronaldo, but they pushed to sign Quaresma and offered a preferential contract for Cristiano, but eventually it amounted to nothing. The club that made the most advanced talks with Cristiano was the Gunners. As Jorge Menz said recently, "There was a time when I really thought he was going to Arsenal before the summer, particularly in January of 2003, Cristiano and his mother flew to London to visit Arsenal's training facility and sat with both Arsene Wenger and his football idol Thierry Ronaldo's biography. The author Guillaume Baleg mentioned that Cristiano fell in love with the club and what they offered in terms of footballing philosophy and the care in which young players are treated. Arsenal agreed on all terms with Sporting, and there was a concrete agreement between both clubs. Arsene Wenger even kept the number 9 shirt for Cristiano, but when Vice President David Dein went to Lisbon to seal the deal, he offered an initial offer that was too low for Sporting. Arsenal had some financial restrictions, of course, with the construction of the new Emirates Stadium, but there was another English club who succeeded in the negotiations. Music. Everybody seems to think that Cristiano transferred to Manchester United because of his performance against the Red Devils in a friendly match on August of 2003. But there was a lot of planning from United prior to that. In the 2002-2003 season, Ferguson's assistant at that time, the Portuguese Carlos Queiroz, received some reports on Cristiano, and he instantly knew that the club had to act quickly. I didn't take on any responsibilities in terms of recruiting young players, but I informed Alex about Cristiano. Management was hesitant on Cristiano, but Queiroz had a brilliant idea. Carlos Queiroz was Sporting Lisbon's manager from the year 94 to 96, and he had several good connections at the club, so he managed to agree on a special agreement with Sporting to exchange methodologies and ideas between the two clubs, which would, in essence, make certain deals in the future much easier. And because of this deal, Ferguson managed to send Jim Ryan, the second team coach at United, to watch training sessions at Sporting Lisbon's facilities. "I've seen a player, I think he's a winger, but he's playing as a central striker with the youth team. I wouldn't wait long to declare our interest. There will be other clubs after him." Ferguson suggested the idea of signing Cristiano to Sporting's management, but with the condition of keeping him on loan at Lisbon for a year. It was a similar condition suggested by many other clubs at the end of the season, and because of the special agreement between Sporting, Lisbon and Manchester United, the Portuguese side suggested booking a friendly between the two sides to celebrate the opening of their new studio, José Alvalade. The match was booked for the 6th of August 2003. A day before the friendly, Jorge Menz met with Sir Alex for the first time. United's interest for Cristiano was obvious in that same summer. Beckham left for Madrid, Viron left for Chelsea, and Ronaldinho turned down United's offer and went to Barcelona. So now let's see what's on the table. Sporting knew that Ronaldo and Menz were not interested in renewing their deal with the club, despite the new manager Fernando Santos pledging to play Cristiano as a starter. Ferguson and United wanted to inject some new blood into the team, and Cristiano felt that Will Mendes knew that sealing this deal would catapult him to the forefront of all football deals, so the deal made sense for each side, and the only thing missing was the figure. But Ferguson knew that United can outbid any other club, and Cristiano knew that the deal was agreed before the booked friendly, as he entered the match to show Manchester United what they were getting just in turn by Ronaldo. Look at that lovely little trick that he has. Here's Ronaldo to swing Ronaldo again. He's done it for 85 minutes, unbelievably quick fate. He's going to be a superstar, and tonight he has shown us exactly what he can do. It was the first time Sir Alex got a glimpse of Cristiano life, as he talked about that night recently, and said a revelation, the biggest surge of excitement and anticipation I experienced in football. Management. After the match, Ferguson realized that the deal had to be done immediately, as the director of football, Freitas, said that United decided to pay more than the agreed fee to ensure they got a player immediately instead of staying for a year on loan at Sporting. They ended up paying a final price of £2 million for a 5-year contract, as Cristiano's yearly salary went from 24,000 euros to 2 million euros, and Ferguson promised Mendes that Ronaldo would play in half of the matches next season at least, and when he got to the club, Cristiano asked for the number 28, but Ferguson gave him the responsibility of wearing the number 7 shirt at United, the legendary number worn by United legends like George Best, Steve Coppell, Brian Robson, Eric Cantona, and David Beckham. A huge transformation in Cristiano's life. So will he deliver or not within that period? United were 4-time league champions in the last 5 years, but Ferguson thought that the team needed a bit of truthful energy, and that's one of the factors that made Sir Alex succeed for a long time. He made changes while his teams were at the top. 4 days after Cristiano was introduced to the media, he was given his debut when he entered against Bolton on the opening day of the Premier League. The excitement in the stands was palpable. Applause. Cristiano managed to win a penalty for the team and was voted the player of the match. 4 days later, Luis Corradi gave Cristiano his national team debut with Portugal as well. Despite Cristiano's promising start, his teammates were not convinced of his playstyle on the field, and as weeks and months had passed, their convictions were being reflected on the pitch. After a few matches, defenders around the league started to give Cristiano a tough and physical treatment. The teenager's reaction was negative as he dived and flopped around the pitch a lot slowly, but surely he earned a reputation that would destroy the career of any young player. He wanted to show off instead of trying to integrate with the team. The talent was there, but he had to drastically change his playstyle. Let's watch some bad and good examples from Cristiano's first season with United. A speculative shot from distance as United were losing while ignoring other options. Great pace, but weak physical strength as the defender pushes him out. A great free kick with a different technique than the one he uses today. Great bit of skill to escape Chelsea's press. And in the last clip, we see a great bit of skill to escape Arsenal's pressure, but is followed by a poor pass forward. Applause. United had a completely different philosophy, but Ferguson treated the teenager just like he treated Cantona in the past, different from the other players, although he was harder than him sometimes. Fergie knew that despite his lack of tactical awareness and teamwork, Cristiano had the right mindset for any professional. As Roy Keane had said, he was immediately one of the hardest working players at United. In all cases, Cristiano's first season was tough. His first goal came in November through a free kick against Portsmouth. Applause. And all the way to January, he managed to participate in 19 matches, starting in 11. But United were in a transitional period that season as they crashed out of the round of 16 of the Champions League against Porto and Marinho. In the league, United ended the season and third, unbeaten, not as the through. Peer the Pies UIZs in Unite. It got all the W demand a Y to the FA Cup final as they faced Mellowell from the Championship. Ferguson decided to use Cristiano from the start to give him a taste of competing for a trophy. The struggles of the season were behind him as he looked much better. It could be one of his most important matches in his career as he was just outstanding from the Portuguese and scored the goal back across Ronaldo as the United won the match handsomely by 3-0. It's United's year for the FA Cup again. Luis Scolari gave Cristiano some national team caps before the Euros, which were held in Portugal that summer, and Cristiano successfully joined Scolari's final squad for the summer tournament and became the 6th youngest player in the competition's history. He arrived at the training camp full of confidence, as Scolari said that he's a good kid, but someone must have told him he's the best in the world, and if he thinks he is, it will be very hard to work with him in the group stages. Cristiano was gaining more minutes as the tournament progressed. In the opener against Greece, Cristiano entered in the second half and gave away a penalty and then scored a goal, but Portugal eventually lost, and following an assist in the win against Russia, Cristiano started the crucial match against Spain as Portugal won and Cristiano was named man of the match. He started the quarter-final match against England as Portugal won through penalties, and then assisted and scored in the win against the Netherlands in the semi-finals, and managed to be in the starting lineup in the final against Greece, as Cristiano became the youngest player ever to do so in the competition's history. But the match ended just like the opener of the tournament as Greece won against all odds. Cristiano missed a huge chance and was very upset after the loss. Cristiano came back to United a different person as Assistant Mike Felon had mentioned he came back a man. His body shape was different, his facial features were different as well, and we just thought that's an athletic physique for the British game. Physically, he was different, but his performances remained inconsistent, and that started to wane on his partner on the right, Gary Neville, who questioned the Portuguese's defensive duties. Do you live with him for another 12 months where this player is doing okay, but not scoring 25 goals where he can turn off and not do the defending? And when we watched some examples within the season, we noticed that Cristiano was still adamant on showing off his new skills and was taking several wrong decisions in most of the matches, but I noticed he slightly improved in several different things. He started passing progressively without delay. He now has a rocket of a shot. He's got a goal. And on his weak foot as well, his physical endurance started to last the whole match, and he started to successfully overcome the defender's challenges. The improvement was obvious, but he was still 1 or 2 years away from delivering on a very high level, and despite the return of the assistant Carlos Queiroz and the signing of Golden Boy Wayne Rooney, United was still far away from competing, especially with the arrival of Jose at Chelsea and the huge spending that happened there, as the story of last year was repeated, and United ended the season in third position, 18 points away from the champions Chelsea. That was followed by an early exit in Europe against Milan in the round of 16 of the Champions League, which was a tough match for Cristiano, but the team managed to get to the FA Cup final again. This time United faced Arsenal in the final, the team that was defeated both home and away at the hands of the Red Devils, the team which Cristiano Ronaldo scored the brace against and showed snippets of his goal-scoring attributes. Manchester United in the FA Cup final. Cristiano delivered a great performance again, just like he did last year, but this time it was against a big team, as he was one step faster than Arsenal's solid right-back Lauren, as Cristiano was playing on the left this time, and because of that he was the #1 victim of some rash tackles throughout the match. But the final had to be settled through penalties, and whereas Cristiano successfully converted his penalty, United failed to retain the cup and ended the season without a title, without a trophy. When we see Cristiano's numbers for the season, we notice his great performances within the FA Cup. But despite some marginal improvements in terms of goals and assists, Cristiano was yet to be one of the team's most important players. Cristiano's performances during the last half of last season pointed to a great third season for the young Portuguese, but what actually happened on the field was a dip in form and inconsistent performances, and there were some questions about how to use him correctly to get the best out of his attributes. Although Ferguson didn't think he'd convert to a clinical striker, Carlos Queiroz had another opinion over time, and when he's 28 years of age, or even 29 years of age, I'm sure that Cristiano will convert into a pure striker. But away from how to play Ronaldo correctly on the field, the young man received the tragic news of the passing of his father on September of 2005, and his mother said Cristiano's father drank until his death, and that destroyed Ronaldo. Drugs and alcohol were a mainstay in Madeira's hoods, and as Cristiano succeeded in helping his brother Hugo, whom was saved from drug abuse, he failed to save his father, who refused any kind of help from everybody. These personal issues made a mark on Cristiano that season, as he was sent off for dangerous challenge and made an obscene gesture aimed at the Benfica fans, and was arrested after being accused of sexual assault. His insistence on showing off his skills and fancy tricks and delaying the crosses started to affect his relationship with the main striker of the team, Ruud by Nestoroi. The Dutch striker's main currency are goals, of course, and he went from Beckham's fast and pinpoint crosses to a young player who preferred to use his skills to take on players. Vanessa Roy's numbers took a huge hit from scoring 44 goals in the 2002-2003 season to 16 goals in the previous season. Injuries were also a factor as well. The relationship between the Portuguese and the Dutchman got very complicated during the season, and the rest of the squad stood in Vanessa Roy's camp as they thought that Cristiano's settling period took a very long time. Gary Neville also had his doubts, as he said, "I questioned Ronaldo's performance in his mid-third year. I was getting to the point where I wondered whether he could actually be a top player." Let's watch some clips from that season. I watched a huge amount of fantastic skills in that season, which may confirm Vanessa Roy's impatience, as he waited a long time for the cross in each match. Most of Cristiano's takens were successful, but it may not be the right decision on the field. Here goes old Twinkle Toes again. There are several examples that point to his physical development, other examples that point to his great ability in counter-attacks, and we saw that season, and for the first time Cristiano successfully scoring a free kick. The same knuckleball technique that he uses today, Ronaldo. That's better, that's a whole lot better, it's an absolute belt. He also managed to score his first European goal in the Champions League qualifiers. Cristiano Ronaldo scores his first ever European goal, but for the third year in a row United was struggling as they crashed out of the Champions League from the group stages in a group that contained Villarreal, Benfica and Lille. It was the same story in the league again, as Chelsea ran away and lifted the Premier League with an 8-point gap from United, and after an early exit from the FA Cup they only had one chance to lift a title in the League Cup final against Wigan. The strange thing that happened in the match was Ferguson deciding not to select Vanessa Roy, rather selecting Zaha, Ronaldo and Rooney in the starting lineup. Rooney scored the brace, Zaha has scored one, and Ronaldo added another as United beat Wigan handsomely in the final. These are Cristiano's numbers for the season. It doesn't seem like he went up a level as expected, but there are some slight improvements in terms of goals. It was a year of development as Ferguson saw it, but the fans were not sure as they saw Chelsea's continued spending spree as Shivshin, Kukolu Balak and Ashley Cole all joined in the summer of 2006, while United decided to sell Vanessa Roy to Real Madrid, and Roy Keane left for Celtic in November of last season after some issues with the manager, and then came Michael Carrick from Spurs. It was a tough summer for United, but Ferguson was confident despite failing in the league for 3 consecutive seasons. The young core he possessed had to step up quickly. Cristiano joined the Portugal squad for the World Cup and played in 2 matches in the group stages and scored a goal against the Iranian national team, and the boy from Madeira in the round of 16, Cristion, was one of the victims of the Battle of Normwork against the Dutch, and was subbed because of injury initially. There was some fear that Cristiano would not play against England in the quarterfinals, but he recovered quickly and was a starter in this crucial match. After an eventless hour, there was a physical battle for the ball between Rooney and both Petit and Carvalho, and then came Ronaldo to ask for his English colleague to get sent off. Tempers are flaring on the pitch after Rooney's sending off. Cameras caught Ronaldo winking to the Portugal bench. The match eventually went to penalties as Portugal's keeper Ricardo successfully saved 3 attempts Carragher as Cristiano scored the match deciding penalty. Portugal are welcome semi-finalists. Portugal managed to pass this test, but the fans and the English media will not be silent. They wanted the scapegoat for their exit, and the easiest victim was Cristiano, especially after the wink. Cristiano talked about the wink and said that it was a reaction after receiving some instructions from the coaching staff to push forward and make most of the numerical advantage, but the truth didn't matter for the media. Cristiano was now the #1 villain in England. After the match, Ronaldo, Ferdinand and Rooney discussed the matter. The issue was instantly behind them, but Rooney warned Cristiano that this will be a big thing for the English fans, and the press will talk and dissect the issue all throughout the summer. Portugal lost following match against France, and Cristiano was voted as the 3rd best young player of the tournament following the World Cup. And after seeing the loud response of the English media, Cristiano seriously considered not returning to Manchester, and this thought came despite the constant communication between teammates Rooney and Ronaldo. Cristiano asked Mendes about the idea of leaving, but Mendes advised him to go back to Manchester in the end. Ferguson sat with both Mendes and Cristiano at Carlos Queiros's house and talked about how Beckham went through the same animosity in '98. "You're one of the bravest players to come to Manchester, but walking away isn't courage after a few days." Cristiano talked to the press. "There's no reason for me to leave a club that has always supported me. Everything will be decided next week." It was clear that Cristiano was staying at that point, and he was ready for the challenge. He tackled the issue in the best possible way. Finally, Cristiano has arrived in the early summer training sessions. Ferguson sat would-be captain Gary Neville, Rooney and Ronaldo. He instantly felt that the team was united, and on top of that Sir Alex managed to create the feeling that the entire world was against Manchester United. The opening match of the Premier League against Fulham had the greatest media attention of the weekend. Each step, gesture and reaction from both Rooney and Cristiano was analyzed. The media painted the false picture that Rooney and Ronaldo were not getting along. The transfer window was still open, so they thought that a bad start to the season may push the Portuguese into leaving, but the reality was far from it as United took Fulham apart. This is an unbelievable start from Manchester United for Ronaldo. Rooney provided Ronaldo the finisher. Away matches in the league were a totally different story as the boos and insults accompanied each touch on the ball from Cristiano. Applause. Although Ronaldo didn't contribute in this match in terms of goals and assists, what made the season different was that he still made the correct plays to ensure Reunited won, whereas in the past he would be somewhat ineffectual if he didn't score. Music. The media quickly shifted their attention to the exciting race for the title between United and Chelsea, as United started the season strongly. As Gary Neville had said, the start of that season was the most enjoyable 6 months I've seen at United. Several players were performing at a high level. Datir, Saha Giggs, Rooney, Scholes and Ronaldo. After the end of first half of the season, United were league leaders with 15 wins after 19 matches. But Chelsea were not giving up easily in that season. Cristiano managed to bring all his attributes together to deliver meaningful and winning football, less artistry and more effectiveness. The technique, great little ball from Cristiano Ronaldo, nothing touch again from Ronaldo, music, Ronaldo, applause, music. And Cristiano's talent exploded in both November and December of 2006 as he managed to win back Player of the Month, hoard a feat not achieved by any players since Bergkamp in '97 and Fowler in the 95-96 season, and he managed to score a brace in 3 matches in a row against Villa. Wigan, and reading the third game running, Cristiano Ronaldo has scored 2 goals. A great example of his ability to decide matches came in an away match against Fulham in February of 2007. United were in danger of dropping points at Craven Cottage, but in the 88th minute, Cristiano stepped up and decided the match with a great solo effort. Applause, music. When you watch a player that scores these kinds of goals and in the 88th minute and under the pressure of Chelsea, then there is no doubt that you're watching a young player turning into a real star. After the match, United maintained their 6-point gap from Chelsea as Cristiano continued his outstanding performances in the next months, as Mendes and the club agreed on extending Cristiano's contract until 2012 with a weekly wage that amounted to £119,000 in the Champions League. Cristiano and United were performing on a high level as they scored 7 goals against Roma and the second leg of quarterfinals. Cristiano managed to score a brace and assist another. Surely it was his first 2 goals in the goal in Champions League. Proper United then faced Milan in the semi-finals, and although Ronaldo managed to score a goal as the team won by 3-2 in the first leg, he struggled to put a stamp on the match, and when he played at the San Siro, Cristiano struggled again. He started on the left and was under tight man marking from Gennaro Gattuso, as he failed to influence the match as United lost by 3-0 and were out of the competition in the Premier League. And after Chelsea drew with Arsenal, Manchester United managed to seal their first Premier League title in 4 years. The clash with Mourinho and Chelsea was repeated in the FA Cup final. Ronaldo started the match on the left side, but the match was timid and mostly eventless and saw a rare few chances. The match was decided by Drogba's winner, an extra time Cristiano produced by far his best ever season in his first 3 seasons with United. He played a total of 137 matches and scored 27 goals in the season. Only he managed to score 23 goals in 54 matches, and with 24 assists he was named Player of the Year and Young Player of the Year by the Professional Footballers Association in England. It's a feat not achieved since 1977, when Andy Gray won both awards. Cristiano managed to win everybody over: the media, the fans, and even the opposing players that voted for him. There was no doubt that Cristiano was now one of the best in Europe. The new season was expected to be a special one for Ronaldo without any international duties in the summer, and with the great reinforcements for United and the transfer transfer window, but the season didn't start in the best possible way as United started their defense of the title with 2 draws and a defeat, while Cristiano was sent off in the second league match against Portsmouth. Cristiano Ronaldo, who's been sent off, Ferguson's assistant. The Dutchman Ronnie Mullenstein took advantage of Cristiano's 3-match ban to introduce some new ideas for the Portuguese star and to analyze Cristiano's previous matches directly with him. Rennie first asked Ronaldo to set a target for the amount of goals he thinks he could score in the new season. Cristiano said that he can score between about 30 to 35 goals, whereas Ronnie said that he can't get up to 40 goals. Ronnie then proceeded to show Cristiano the tactics of strikers and showed him footage of Dennis Law, George Best, Ruud van Nistelrooy, and Solskjaer. George Best was similar to Cristiano in terms of scoring outstanding goals, but the rest were more clinical strikers, scoring with one touch, scoring inside the box headers. And of course, volleys. Cristion was then assigned solo sessions, work on his visualization of goals, movements inside the box, choosing the best spots to score runs, and other technical aspects. When Cristiano came back from his 3-match ban, he managed to surpass his goal tally from last season. In January of the current season, Cristiano started scoring all kinds of goals, and he started acquiring a nose for gold in that season. We saw several headers when he scored his first header of the season against Wigan. It came as a surprise for Cristiano Ronaldo. In the same month, he scored another header, but this time with a better finish, but Cristiano was still surprised with himself. In the following month, Cristiano jumped to score a fantastic header against Blackburn, and this time it was not a surprise. Headers were now a big part of Cristiano's arsenal of attributes. A match against Fulham in December showed his wide range of goals. The first came through a beautiful and instinctive volley, and the second goal came through a header any striker would be proud of. He can't stop. In another match against Everton, we saw him cut from the right to the left and shoot with his weak foot from range. Is there anything this man can't do? Ronaldo's huge development in the year 2007 earned him the second position in the Ballon d'Or rankings behind Kaká and just ahead of Messi. He was now very close to the top, but he still needed to win more titles. A title like the Champions League, and after Cristiano seized the tie against Lyon in the round of 16, United faced Roma again. The first leg was pretty tough on United, and in the first half Scholes lifted the ball up high as Ronaldo soared from far away to score a beautiful and important header. Ronaldo, as United, passed this tough test and got to another semi-final, and the Champions League. United then faced Barcelona, and it was the first official match between Cristiano and Messi. Carlos Queiroz suggested the change in tactics before the match for Cristiano as the Portuguese started the tie as a striker, as Queiroz thought that Ronaldo would face issues in covering the right side of Barcelona, as they used Park Jae-sung to cover that right side, and to specifically mark Messi. Ronaldo didn't like that change as he struggled for a position on the ball in the Camp Nou and missed an early and crucial penalty. Applause. The tie was difficult on both sides and was eventually decided by a long rain effort from Scholes, and they returned like what about that as Manchester United got to their first Champions League final since 1999. In the league, Cristiano continued scoring goals as the race for the league title heated up and got all the way to the final day. United travelled to face Wigan, and Ronaldo got the chance to erase the memories of Barcelona as the Portuguese stepped up to take a crucial penalty in the title race. As cool as you like, United won by 2 goals, whereas Chelsea drew with Bolton as Cristiano lifted their new title. Sustaining success is so hard, but so sweet. A rematch of the title race happened in the Champions League final. Ronaldo played on the left side and was given freedom to roam and take advantage of his speed to take on the Blues' defense, which used Michael Essien as a right back. The match was expected to be difficult in general as there was tight marking on Cristiano, and sometimes he was marked by 3 players whom were Essen Balak and Jokol. In the past, Cristiano would have struggled, but with his development in the last few seasons, he managed to overcome the marking with his positive runs without the ball into the box, and with those movements he managed to score a great header for Ronaldo. Applause. After Lampard scored the equalizer, the match eventually went to a penalty shootout, and after 2 successful penalties for both sides, Cristiano stepped up to shoot the shimmy, and Czech has saved from Ronaldo of all people. Fortunately for Ronaldo, Terry slipped on the crucial 5th penalty, then Van der Sar managed to save Ilka shot to help United lift the trophy tonight, and for Cristiano to lift the title that may hand him the Ballon d'Or, a double for Cristiano, and another outstanding season for the Portuguese star. He won the European Golden Boot award after scoring 31 goals in the league and 42 goals overall, so you can't blame the fans for being excited for another season of Ronaldo. Carlos Queiroz mentioned Ferguson in the past that if you manage to get 5 years out of Cristiano, then you've struck gold. There's no precedent for a Portuguese teenager to go to another country and stay for 5 years there. Were some hints that pointed to Cristiano leaving, as he mentioned before the Champions League final that he dreams of playing in Spain. That's why it was expected that Ronaldo's 6th season with United will be a complicated one for management, but before all that there was the Euros in the summer. Portugal came to the Euros, and it was obvious that Cristiano was now the main man of the team. He had joined captaincy along with his teammate Nuno Gomes. Portugal ended the group stages as group leaders, but Cristiano and his teammates faced the Germans in the next round. Bastian Schweinsteiger was the star of the match, while Cristiano's efforts were not enough as Portugal crashed out of the tournament. Germany were on their way to the semi-finals, with all the rumors surrounding Ronaldo. Ferguson travelled to Portugal to sit with Cristiano and Carlos Queiroz's house. Long story short, Ferguson refused to sell Ronaldo to Real Madrid, especially after how their president Ramon Calderon dealt with the matter for Sir Alex. It was a matter of maintaining his authority in the global stage, and Ferguson mentioned in his autobiography that if Ronaldo stayed for 1 more year and gave it his all, he promised him that if any club came with a record offer, he'll agree to sell. Cristiano agreed, and the matter was closed unfortunately for Cristiano, and United. It was his weakest season when compared to his last 2 seasons at that time, as he had a niggling injury since March of 2008. The injury eventually got worse after the match against Germany in the Euros, and it was agreed that he needed surgery on his ankle and was out of action for 6 whole weeks. Ronaldo came back in September, and his goal was clear: ending the season in the best possible way to seal the Ballon d'Or. That's why he came back to the lineup and got back to scoring goals immediately. First goal of the season, but with each goal he scored, especially in the beginning, it came with a subdued celebration, and he started to distance himself from his teammates. As Gary Neville said, he was very professional that whole season, but he was counting down the months until he could leave. Despite all that, Cristiano eventually got back to his best of forms and scored his 100th goal for United in November. Cristiano Ronaldo brings up 100 goals for Manchester United after a few weeks. The winner of the Ballon d'Or was announced in December, and there was no doubt that Cristiano was the most deserving of this award, as he wanted by a big margin ahead of Lionel Messi in 2nd and Fernando Torres in 3rd. Cristiano said, "This trophy is so important that I want to win it again. I'll wake up every day and say to myself, I have to keep improving." Cristiano then traveled to Japan to help United win another trophy, which was the Club World Cup. He managed to score a goal in a hectic final. There it is Ronaldo, and handed an assist in the final. He came back to the Premier League and the Champions League to score some very crucial goals. A goal to seal the tie against Internal, under United, an outrageous long-range effort, heading for 16. To seal the tie against Portugal in the quarter-finals, and 2 goals at the Emirates Stadium against Arsenal in the semi-finals. Absolutely. He then proceeded to score a brace against both Villa and Spurs as United moved away in the title race and sealed the title in the last few weeks. Applause. Cristiano won the League Cup, and the Club World Cup. What was left was the 2nd Champions League final in a row, as the tie against Barcelona and Messi was repeated again. Ronaldo made life hard for Victor Valdés in the opening minutes. Then Pep Guardiola changed the match when he pushed Edo to the right and Messi as a full striker, as Barcelona took over possession of the ball and managed to score 2 goals and eventually killed the match. Applause. All the indicators pointed to Cristiano playing in his last match for United, especially after Calderon stepped down, and Perez took over the presidency of Real Madrid as El Merengue came with a record offer, and as Ferguson promised, he let Cristiano leave a new page in Cristiano's story, as the Madrid fans filled the Santiago Bernabeu, excited to see the man brought to end Barcelona's reign of dominance and get Madrid back to being European champions. And for Cristiano, he finally got what he wanted after years of hard work and his strive to be the best music. So what does the future hold for the Portuguese star?